Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, Michael Jordan is going to be the topic of discussion. Really, Michael Jordan and the late great Coach Bobby Knight. I wanna go over some old audio of what Bobby Knight said about Michael Jordan, and it was on two occasions that we're gonna play, and it was when Bobby Knight talked about Michael Jordan as he was playing for him in the Olympics right after college before he get to the pros. And I think that's a famous audio clip that a lot of people hear. But I'm gonna play it for you just in case you haven't heard it in a while, or just because you never heard it in the first place. And it's a short clip, but then it's going to be followed by what he said years later in the 2017 interview, which was before he passed away. I can't remember what year he passed away, but it wasn't too far after that. But he said the interview, so it's gonna you're gonna see if he was able to say what he said in the 80s, and after seeing his career and then seeing everyone else that came after him, Kobe, Durant, LeBron, Curry, see if it's still consistent in 2017, what he said about it. Going to be very interesting. I want to break down some stuff about what he said, and then I'm going to move into some other things on what I think about it and give you some of my commentary. I appreciate all the comments we're getting, so continue to do that. Continue to give us those comments and give us your feedback in the comment section, and having those conversations amongst other people that is watching the video, and of course amongst myself whenever I do get to some of the comments and had a conversation. There's been good conversation and all of that. And we appreciate all the likes and the thumbs up and the shares that we've been getting. So continue to do that as well. You can support the channel by doing that. You can also support the channel by becoming a member. And you can also support the channel by subscribing if you're not already subscribed. So without further ado, I'm going to get into that. But first, this episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player, or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code ManDownSports, and you can get your deposit doubled up to $100. You got to check on the map to make sure your state is eligible to play Underdog Fantasy. But as soon as you do, and if your state is, go ahead and download Underdog Fantasy's app. Use the promo code ManDownSports, and you can, like I said, you can get that $100 match on your first deposit. And I would want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring Man Down Sports. All right, so let's take a listen to what Coach Knight said.
Kid is just an absolutely great kid. If I were going to pick the 3 or 4 best athletes I've ever seen play basketball, he'd be one of them. I think he's the best athlete I've ever seen play basketball, bar none. If I were going to pick people with the best ability I'd ever seen play the game, he'd be one of them. If I were going to pick the best competitors that I'd ever seen play, he'd be one of them. So in the categories of competitiveness, ability, skill, and then athletic ability, he's the best athlete. He's one of the best competitors. He's one of the most skilled players. And that, to me, makes him the best basketball player that I've ever seen play.
So I like the way Coach Knight kind of broke that down into several different categories on what I think makes players great. Right. So one thing he mentioned was competitiveness. It's too many stories about how competitive Michael Jordan is, and it goes beyond basketball. Whatever he's playing, it don't matter if it's golf, it don't matter if it's playing ping pong, it don't matter if he's racing someone. Like, he's very competitive, and a lot of people has vouched and said that he's very competitive. He hates losing, he loves winning, and he don't want to lose to no one. So his competitive edge is probably, I don't know, probably unmatched by anybody other than probably somebody like Kobe, right? So that's one thing that drives a player. When your will to win is so strong, and not wanting to lose and stuff like that, you're willing to do other things that people are not willing to do. You want to win so much that when other people are not in the gym, you're in the gym. When other people is not in the weight room, you're in the weight room. When other people is not on guard and studying their opponent, you're studying your opponent, right? When most people think the game is over, or think the matchup is easy, he's not thinking like that. He want to crush his opponent. Like that's his competitive edge. He didn't want to lose anything to nobody. So that goes a long way. Even in your workouts, even in your sprints and all that stuff, you're competing even in that capacity. You don't even want to be last when you're running line drills, right? You don't want to miss shots. You don't want to lose one-on-one battles. You don't want to lose playing defense. Like that go like playing defense is something that is attached to your competitive edge, because we have players now that are so skilled offensively, but their competitive edge don't go to the other end of the court. Like they're not adamant about taking the best matchup and beating him there. Like I want that guy to know that he's not better than me anywhere on the basketball court. So even when I'm defending him, I want to destroy him as much as when I'm scoring on him. And a lot of people don't think like that. I don't think Harden think like that. I don't think Luka thinks like that, right? So offense just meant too much to them. Defense don't mean as much to them. So that competitive edge goes a long way. Then he said he was the greatest athlete he've ever seen. Right now, we have other great athletes. We have Vince Carter's and the LeBrons. But imagine being that athletic like Vince Carter was, but not having a competitive edge that Mike has. And it makes a difference. Vince Carter might be probably more athletic than Mike. Maybe. As far as leaping ability, possibly. But it's, as far as being agile and quick and fast and lateral movements and sprints and stuff like that, he might not be, right? But as far as leaping, you can put Vince Carter in that unique elite company of athletes. But is he as competitive as Mike? Probably not. That's why Vince Carter probably wasn't better than Kobe and T-Mac. He probably lacked something competitively. That switch was on and off sometime. I've seen Vince Carter locked in, and I've seen him not locked in. I'm like, man, how is Vince Carter not dominating this matchup? Or why is he not dominating this playoff series? Why didn't he have more success? Right? And you start to think like maybe he wasn't obsessed like Kobe was and like Mike was. They was obsessed with this. Right? So that's why Bobby Knight mentioning that competitive edge is very important. Then he said he was the most skilled player he ever seen. Not a lot of times where you see the most athletic guy decide to go and work on his skill set as much as like being very skilled is how people who don't have elite athleticism get to the league. Because if they had to rely on their athleticism, they probably wouldn't make it. So these guys are working on their skills more than the elite athlete. The elite athlete can get all the way to D1 college without having a jump shot. Now I've seen D1 college players that was freak athletes that can dunk on you, that can run and jump, catch alley-oops. They didn't have any skill set. They couldn't dribble, they couldn't shoot, they couldn't pass. They had nothing else except dunking ability. And there was one guy at Georgia Tech that I like a whole lot. I think his last name was Muhammad. Man, that dude was crazy good as far as dunking. But he could get 20 or 30 points just off being a super athlete, right? So so most athletic guys, super athletic guys, there's no need for them to work on their jump shot, their footwork, their post moves. There's no need because they're so, they're already in the 1% of athletes, and not 1% of athletes, because you probably could say if you make it to the NBA, those guys are in the 1%. But imagine being in the 1% of the 1%. Those are the Kenyon Martins, the Stromae Swifts, the Amari Stoudemires. Those guys, just by being super athletic, they was already in the 1% of the 1%. And they did that without getting in the gym and working as hard as Hakeem or Kareem in the post. Didn't even have to develop it. Just rebound, block shots, play defense, dunk. And you can make it there. So imagine Michael Jordan being in the 1% of athletes just like Dominique Wilkins, which he was. And then imagine him going to go be technically sound more than any non-athletic person in the NBA. Imagine him being more technically sound than that guy. Right? Imagine a Mark Price, as skilled as he was. Imagine Mike being more skilled and more athletic and more competitive. Right? All of those things Bob might mention. So when you put all those things together, you're like, man, golly, like you got all of that. That's a lot of gold dust sprinkled on that guy, right? So years later, 2017, let's see what he says. We've seen LeBron, we've seen Kobe, we've seen all these other guys. Let's see if Bobby Knight still feels that way about Michael Jordan.
All right. As far as just the overall game of basketball, I know you're not a big NBA fan, but LeBron James, is he the best guy you've ever seen?
No. The best guy that ever played the game is Michael Jordan. Don't even think about anybody else.
Not even close?
Not even close.
Why is that?
Because he was just better than anybody. He was smarter. He was tougher. He won more. Although there are two things about when you talk about players. You talk about the best player and you talk about the most valuable player. Without any thought that the best player was Michael Jordan. The most valuable player was Bill Russell, because nobody in any sport won what Bill Russell did with the Celtics. And the smartest man in basketball ever was Red Auerbach, because he was able to do things that other people would never have thought of. We mentioned three people here, and you asked me about what I got out of basketball. Well, first of all, having Michael play on our Olympic team was great, and I thoroughly enjoyed having the opportunity to work with him on a team. And then the same thing would be true in a lot of other circumstances with coaches or people or whomever. And I feel the same way about Bill Russell, what he did for basketball. And as I said, I got to know Red Auerbach and became very close to Red. So basketball has been very, very big for me in terms of allowing me to do things that I like to do, and what I got out of it, and the people that I met from it are like treasures that you very seldom run across.
So you heard him be consistent all the way from 84 to 2017. And the way he said, I mean, you got to hear the way he said when he first asked him, like, now you've seen LeBron, is he the best you ever seen? And he said, he basically said, hell no. He would say, man, it's Michael Jordan by far, and don't even think about anybody else. That includes Magic, Bird, Kareem, Wilt, Bill Russell, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. That includes all of them. He said, don't even think about anybody else. Right? This guy was far too skilled. And in the words of Olajuwon, he's just a far superior basketball player who played and dominated in a tougher era. We know 100% for a fact that the 90s to 2000s was the tougher era than what we're seeing right now. This era is cupcake, and this era was designed for more points. So when you look at a guy like Michael Jordan, who averaged 35 in the playoffs in a tougher era, when we know the playoffs even gets even tougher. So you go from 30 points a game to 35 points a game in the playoffs in a tougher era. You're really doing some serious scoring. In the era where 100 points was very hard to come by. But now we're in the era where 150 points is not that hard to come by. You can get 150 points. Non-playoff teams are getting 150. Like right now, the Atlanta Hawks ain't go sniff the playoffs. They've scored 150 more than 3 or 4 times this season already. Just imagine that. And they have a 5'11" point guard that's putting up most of their points. Right? And just imagine it in the 90s, Damon Stoudemire leading the team to getting 150 points consistently while he get 30. and Damon Stoudemire is a cold point guard. Probably better than a lot of these point guards that we think are superstars now. I think there's several point guards. Like I probably could grab 10 to 15 point guards from the 90s era that'll smoke these point guards. Now, Rod Strickland, Mark Price being two of them. Tim Hardaway being another one. Penny Hardaway being another. They will smoke these point guards. Far skilled in a more sophisticated, superior, and tougher league and tougher era at that time, right? So with him saying Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan don't even think about anybody else. I mean, that's saying a lot coming from Coach Knight. He's saying a lot of basketball. He's saying don't even think about nobody. It's not even close. Don't even think about nobody else, right? So what did he say? He said he's the best player. He's the best player I ever seen. He even said it in '84. In 2017, he's still saying it. He's the best player we ever seen. And that's why I want to start it with this conversation, is because a lot of people don't understand what the GOATs of basketball, the greatest of all time, is, and what it starts from. What's the foundation of being the GOAT? And even though a lot of people will mention Michael Jordan's 6th ring, that's not the foundation. People already looked at Michael Jordan play and said that's the best player I ever seen play. And by best, I mean I've never seen somebody that competitive. I never seen somebody that driven. I never seen somebody that athletic, who's also that skilled, who also turned it into wins almost every time he got on the floor. I mean, he won as a freshman, even though Worthy was the leader of that team. He hit the biggest shot, cool as a cucumber, not nervous, pulled that shot as a freshman, right? So he won then. He won on that level. He got to the league, won on that level. He got to the Olympics, won on that level. Winning followed him wherever he went. That's saying something. That's showing a pattern, right? Because a lot of times people say, well, shoot, he never won without Phil, but he's showing you he go in different areas and different places and he's winning, and it's consistent winning, and it's winning that's not mixed in with a lot of losing. Like I'm really winning. I went to the Olympics as a college player. Before I went pro, we won gold. I went again with the dream team. We won gold. There's no losses on his record when he goes to the Olympics. There's no losses on his records when his team is good enough to make it to the finals. Right? So the winning is following him, and there's not a lot of losses that's following him. So for him to be the best player, that's the foundation of him being the GOAT. So if anyone who wants to challenge the throne and be the GOAT, you have to first show yourself worthy to be compared to him as a player. He was the best player we ever seen. So whoever is trying to challenge him, I need to see you be a better player than him, at least equal to him. And that's what Kobe Bryant was trying to do. Kobe Bryant was trying to be a better player than Michael Jordan, or at least equal to him. And that didn't continue on to LeBron James. He decided that he didn't want to be a better player than Michael Jordan. Maybe he did, but he wasn't trying. That wasn't his goal, to try to be a better player than him. His goal was to try to stack up more accolades, more stats than him, and hopefully more rings. So he was going for the rings, he was going for the stats, he was going for the accolades, he was going for those things that we can look at on paper and say, well, he has an argument. But someone like Bobby Knight or someone like me, I'm evaluating you on the basketball court, because you can doctor up a paper resume, and we go get to that, right? So the reason why people don't respect LeBron's journey to where he's trying to get as far as the mountaintop or the GOAT, no one respects that journey, because we've seen what Michael Jordan's journey was, and that's the person that we have said is the best we've ever seen. And he put together a resume that set a very, very high bar for anyone that's trying to come after him, right? So before Michael Jordan, you had your Kareems, your Wilts, and I'm not even gonna say Wilt, because Wilt was a guy who, he is the record book, he is the stat guide, he had all that stuff, but I think he only won once or twice. It was a struggle for him to get rings. Now he had to go against the Celtics and Bill Russell, so I get it. But it was a struggle for him. So, and then as a player, it's very hard for a big man that plays center, a 7-footer who isn't able to show you, like when you're a post player and a big player, you're not able to show the same skill set like a wing player can, which is going to be very interesting for Wembanyama, who is above 7 foot, that plays like a small forward or guard, and he plays on the perimeter. He's going to be able to show how good he is as a player more than someone like Wilt could. So even if Wilt was on par with Michael Jordan as a player, which I think he's somewhere close to that level, but we didn't. I mean, how much of Wilt did we see? I mean, I didn't see Wilt how well he shot jump shots and free throws and threes and mid range, and how well he dribbled the ball. I didn't see all of that. So in my opinion, I think Michael Jordan's skill set is higher than Wilt's. So a lot of people don't bring his name up, but you can't ignore Wilt, man. He's the stat book, right? But when you talk about the players like Larry Bird, let's go more modern, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, those guys, that's when we start seeing high level. Oh man, this is good stuff right here. These are the two best players we've seen, obviously. At the time before Mike got there, was like, oh, these are the guys, Magic and Bird, those are the guys, and Kareem as well. Kareem, Magic, Bird, those are the guys. Maybe Oscar at some, to a certain extent as well. Dr. J as well. Those guys was it, right? So those are the best players we seen at that point. Then comes Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan took it to another level, right? So Michael Jordan is this phenomenon. And not only was he a phenomenon, he knew his history and he knew what he had to carry as far as being the face of the NBA. He looked at Magic and Bird. He looked at Dr. J. He looked at Oscar. He looked at Kareem. He looked at how they did it. Now, when you look at Bird, this is a guy that goes to Boston. And you got to kind of think of it of this way. If you got a group of friends from your neighborhood and y'all usually go 4 or 5 deep to the gym on Saturday morning, and you got other guys from other neighborhoods there all day, y'all get there at the same time. I got my 5, and this is my 5 because these are my dudes. These are the dudes I played with. We play we play the same style. We know each other. These are the 5 I came with, and we're gonna come in there every Saturday and see how long we can stay on the court. We go get on the court. Some days we might get there and play 5 straight games, because if you lose, you off the court, you might not get back on. But I showed up with my 5. We played 1 or 2 games. We win them. We stay on as long as possible. When we're done, we're done. Right? Everyone bring their own squad. Put that squad together. This is my squad. And it was respectable that way. It'd be different if someone showed up with their 5 and tried to do it the way that normally everyone does it. He loses. Now, he's a great player. He's one of the best players in the gym. He loses, and instead of coming back to try to win with his same 5, he looks and grabs 1 or 2 players from two of the best players in the gym and try to put a team together that way and win. And it might work, right? You might stay on the court all day long, but is it the same type of journey, or is it going to garner the same type of respect as how we're accustomed to seeing it done, right? And that goes to how Bird and Magic did it. Bird showed up with the Boston Celtics. He got a team built around him: McHale, Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge. This is my squad. This is who I'm going to battle with. And we're going to battle until we can't battle no more. And then when it's all said and done, we all go bow out gracefully and pass the torch. Detroit Pistons, same thing. This is my squad. This is the style of basketball we play. We play hard-nosed basketball. We scratch, we claw, we hit. The head of the snake is Isaiah. We got Bill Laimbeer. We got Rick Mahorn. We got Joe Dumars. We got Dennis Rodman. This is how we play. And we're going to play like that until the wheels fall off, see how many times we can win. And when somebody takes us off the throne, we're going to pass the torch and bow out gracefully. Same thing with the Lakers. We show up. We got Magic. I got Kareem, I got Worthy, I got Sam Perkins, I got Byron Scott, I got all these guys around me. We want to ride the wheels and ride until the wheels fall off. This is what we want. This is who I came with. And when someone finally defeats us, we're going to bow out gracefully and pass the torch. That was the normal way to do it. So when it was Mike's turn, that's what he did. I came here with Pippen, came here with Phil, Horace, Paxson, Cartwright. We're going to ride until the wheels fall off. If somebody takes us off our throne, we'll bow out gracefully, pass the torch. Right? That's how it was normally done. And the reason why that's so respectable is because Magic, Bird, Isaiah, Michael Jordan, Kareem, whoever Olajuwon at that time is, all those guys were the best. Charles Barkley, that was the best. It's only 10 guys like that. Normally, some 10 to 12 guys who we call superstars, the top echelon of players. Every era or every 10 years, you get 10 to 12 guys who are franchise carrying number one guys who can carry the league, carry franchises, all of that. You only go see 10 to 12 of those guys, and it's 30 teams. So if you only got 10 to 12 of them, that means 20 teams don't have one of those guys, right? So we want to see out of all those guys who's the best, and the only way we can see that is when those guys play each other with all the marbles on the line. Play each other with everything on the line. Bird went head to head with Isaiah. Magic went head to head with Bird. Magic went head to head with Isaiah. Jordan went head to head with Bird, Isaiah, Magic. Like, we seen that, and we seen Bird beating the Bulls and beating baby Jordan. But Jordan was the new up and coming guy. We seen Bad Boy Pistons beating them up, but we seen Mike get past the Pistons. And we seen Mike get past the Lakers. We never seen him get past Boston. So that gives us a good idea of what was going on. It's easier to see that, it's clearer because everyone's doing it the same way. Right? So Mike was carrying on that tradition of, I'm with my team, I'm building my team around me, and we just go see who the best guy is. Now, what happens is it gets passed down, and Kobe gets drafted. One of the first guys that get drafted out of high school that ended up in a situation like he did. He get drafted by LA, and they already had some all-stars there, and then they went and signed Shaq. So they in an immediately situation where they in the playoffs, kind of like what Bird and Magic did. They showed up to teams that was ready to go, right? But they didn't come out of high school. They came out of college, right? Big difference. Kobe came out of high school, so he's playing with another superstar, which is not a bad thing because Kareem and Magic played together. So it's not a horrible thing. He played with another superstar, but the difference with Kobe is he was the youngest guy playing with someone that was a 7-foot physical specimen like Shaq, who was in his prime, just getting in his prime. And you got this 18-year-old kid, obviously not going to be the number one. You got this Shaq guy who's the number one. So Kobe, even though he ended up being the all-world talent, probably the second best player we ever seen in the league, he's playing behind this guy because he's 18 and this guy's in his prime and he's 7 foot in a physical specimen. He's pretty much the next coming of Wilt Chamberlain, right? So Kobe's playing with him, and it takes some time for him to show that he is the number one. Even though they won 3 rings together, everyone was calling Kobe Bryant second fiddle. At the most, he was the 1B, but most people would say he was the number 2. So why is that such a bad thing? Well, you can't be compared with number ones when your role was a number 2. At best, you can be compared to Scottie Pippen, James Worthy, those number 2s. So Kobe Bryant was in the category where he was being compared to Pippen, and he was like, I know I'm not a Pippen. I know I'm a Michael Jordan, right? So in his mind, he knew he was a Michael Jordan, and he kept hearing people calling him a Pippen. He didn't like it, right? So put a bow in there. I'm gonna come back to that. So Michael Jordan passed the torch. here comes Kobe, and he's going to carry out that tradition of, I got drafted by a team. I'm going to get a team built around me. I'm going to ride it until the wheels fall off, see how many rings I can get out of this, and then I'm going to pass the torch and bow out gracefully, right? So that's what that was getting passed down. That's what Bird, Magic, Isaiah, Jordan, that's what they was doing. Mind you, they all with one squad doing this. Hey, man, you build this around me. Now I got the people I want to go to battle with, and boom, let's see how many we can get. That was the whole program. Build around me. When we get a team that's ready to go, we go to battle, see how many we can get. Bird was able to get 4, Magic was able to get 5, Jordan was able to get 6, Isaiah was able to get 2, right? So it's kind of clear, it's easy, we can say, well, when we watch the game, Michael Jordan's better than all of them, and he won more than all of them. So it's kind of clear, it's easy to say, well, Mike is better than all of them. It's very easy. Very easy. So here comes Kobe, and he can't be compared to Bird, Isaiah, Mike, or Magic. Why? Because Shaq's the number 1 and Kobe's the number 2. So Kobe had to do it a little different. He was the first guy that was a superstar who wanted to be separated from the guy he won rings with. Michael didn't want to be separated from Pippen. Bird didn't want to be separated from McHale. Magic didn't want to be separated from Kareem or Worthy, even though Kareem retired. He didn't want to be separated from the guys he won with. They didn't even want to leave their squads. Kobe Bryant was so desperate to show the world that you got me effed up. I'm not Scotty. I'm more on the level of Mike, Magic, Bird, Isaiah. I'm on number 1. Just because Shaq is here don't mean I'm not a number 1. I want to show y'all. So send me to another squad. I get that squad built around me and I show y'all. But Jerry West was too smart and was like, nah, we keeping you. You the younger guy and you're better. We'll get rid of Shaq and we'll rebuild around you. So he stayed. He's the only guy that said, this is a dominant guy. He's still in his prime and I don't want to play with him no more because I want to show the world what I can do. Right? So Shaq leaves. They rebuild around Kobe. He go to 3 straight finals, get 2 out of them. And you know, he's building his own legacy as the number 1, as the guy in LA. And now we can see, he proved to us that he was always a number 1. It was by default he had to play number 2. He was always a number 1. And he knew that his legacy would be tied to being a number 2, being a Robin, being a Scottie Pippen. He knew that that's where his legacy was going. And that's why it was important for him to get away from Shaq. Because even still now, when they start talking about Kobe and say, you know, where should he be ranked at, they still say, well, we can't count his rings because he won 3 of them with Shaq. So they just erase his first 3 rings. Oh, he won 3 with Shaq. So that's how we're going to bring him down. He won 3 with Shaq, so that don't mean nothing. Imagine if he would have never separated from Shaq and they got 5 together. Shaq would have had 5, but Kobe would have had, I don't know, I'm just a Robin. I was getting carried. So it would even be even worse if he never separated from Shaq. So thank God he did separate from Shaq, right? So that's the journey of how they was doing it. You get your own team, you have your team built around you, you see how many you can win, you see how long you can win, and then when your time is up, when the next guy come and they beat you, you pass the torch and you bow out gracefully. Right? That was the formula. So here comes LeBron. LeBron shows up. He's trying to do it the same way that Bird, Magic, Isaiah, Michael, Kobe did it. He's in Cleveland. He's trying to get everything built around him. And what he was building around him, he could get wins. He had the best record in the league twice in Cleveland. So he's got teams good enough to get to the finals. He got to the finals once, got swept by the Spurs, and then he had those 2 best records where he got his MVPs One year he had a 66-16 record, was the same year that Kobe had a 65-17 record. And that's the year that everyone was like, oh man, this is gonna be a great finals when Kobe and LeBron meet each other in the finals. But LeBron didn't make it because he got put out by, I think, Orlando that year, and which Orlando ended up going and getting swept by the Lakers. Or was it a gentleman's sweep? That was one of them. Right. So we never got to see that. So LeBron's trying to do it that way, but he didn't like what was getting built around him in Cleveland, I guess. He was like, man, I'm trying to build these teams. But here's the thing about LeBron. That based on the style of play that he wanted to play, the teams that they was building around him was probably the best you was gonna get. You know, and that's the same situation that Luka finds himself in right now. If you're going to be the guy that's going to be the point guard, the point forward, the primary assist guy, the primary distributor, and you also going to be the primary scorer, what type of players can you put around you? Because if I'm the type of player that want to post up, if I'm a big man, like he had Carlos Boozer, and Carlos Boozer ended up going to Utah and doing phenomenal things, and winning a lot of games for Utah, and you know, with Deron Williams and, you know, Andre Karolinka and stuff like that, doing phenomenal things out there, right? And he couldn't play with LeBron because he liked posting up, right? So if I'm a player that likes to post up, playing in a system where the lane needs to be wide open, so I can have dribble drive opportunities for my best player, it's gonna be very frustrating for a post player. So post players don't mesh well in that system. So now you need big men that are comfortable with being at the 3-point line, or being, you know, spread out out of the paint and hitting jump shots and hitting threes, which was what was Ilgauskas and Danielle Marshall and Antoine Jameson, right? So they're looking for guys they can put at the 3-point line who also are big men, right? So that's a specific type of person you can put in there, and that's usually not all stars. Like if you look at Amara Stoudemire, I like to get the ball in the post. Carlos Boozer, I like to get the ball in the post. Who else was an all-star back then? Joakim Noah, I like to be in the paint. Kevin Garnett, I like to be in the post. Rasheed Wallace, I like to be in the post. Like, you're not going to find a big man that was just okay with just shooting threes, and while LeBron did everything driving to the hole, right? And then if you was a point guard like Chris Paul, Deron Williams, Rondo, Derrick Rose, those are other guys who can't play with him as well because LeBron wants to be the point guard. So you can X out point guards, you can X out post players. So if you look at the All-Star team at that time, nobody on the All-Star team would really fit with LeBron, except maybe a Ray Allen. So you could only really get shooters, but Ray Allen was already somewhere else, and they, you know, you get what I'm saying? Like, so what real help can you get when you need a specific type of player, and those players don't tend to be all-stars? Is the point I'm trying to get at, right? So it was hard to get LeBron help there, right? It was hard to get all-star help, Hall of Fame help. You know, they brought in Ben Wallace. What has been, even though he was an all-star in Detroit, a defensive stopper, a rebounder, what is he going to do if you need a shooter? So Ben Wallace didn't work. They brought in Shaq. Shaq didn't work. He wanted to be in the post. You know, so they tried so many things, but they got to understand it's not the players that's around him. It's the style of play that you're trying to play. So he leaves Cleveland and goes to Miami. So that's the first thing that happened different. Now, mind you, Kobe's motivation for leaving LA is not comparable to LeBron's motivation. Kobe's motivation to leave LA was to separate from a Hall of Fame player in Shaq, so he can show the world how good he really is. So he was trying to take a harder path, get me away from Shaq so I can take a harder path to show y'all I'm on Michael Jordan's level. LeBron was saying, I need more help. And he went to Miami and joined Wade, who's a player that's on his level, and brought Basho, which is another player just below his level. So let's compare this to Jordan, Pippen, Isaiah, and all these guys. Remember when I said at the beginning, there's really only 10 to 12 guys that's at the top of the pyramid in any era. So in the era of Bird, Magic, Kareem, Barkley, Dr. J, Michael Jordan, all these guys, those are the names that was at the top. Bird, Barkley, Michael, Kareem, Magic, Isaiah, Dr. J. Those guys was up here at the top of the pyramid. Those guys didn't join forces with each other. They wanted to beat each other, because how can I know which one of us is better if we're not facing each other with everything on the line? If we're joining each other and then going to go beat players that's below us, what are we proving? If Michael Jordan go join Bird and they run out 5 championships in a row, what are they proving? They're proving that if you take 2 of the top guys and put them together, they can go beat Magic by himself. Or if you put Bird and Michael together, they can go beat Isaiah by himself. Or if you put Michael and Bird together, you can go beat Barkley by himself. Magic, in that case, Bird or Michael wouldn't prove that they're better than Barkley if they had the tag team to beat him. They didn't prove that they're better than Malone if they had the tag team to beat Malone, right? And Michael doesn't get to prove that he's better than Bird if he joined him to go win championships. So when you look at the top of the pyramid of the guys that was in LeBron's era, it was still Kobe. You had Melo. You had Wade. You had LeBron. Maybe Shaq. Maybe Bosh. Garnett. Maybe Pierce. Right? Those would probably be the superstars. The top 10 guys would be those guys, right? And of those top 10, the top of the pyramid was really LeBron, Wade, and Kobe and Melo. Those 4 was the top, and maybe Garnett, right? So those guys was the top. So when LeBron goes to join Wade and Bosh, he never could. LeBron never got an opportunity to prove to everyone that he was better than Wade. Really, if you join Wade, how do we know you're better than Wade if you never went head to head with him and beat him? Same thing with Kevin Durant. How do I know that LeBron is better than Kevin Durant if I never seen them go head to head? Because when they played OKC in the finals, it was a LeBron super team with Wade and Bosh against Kevin Durant with 2 young bucks. I'm talking about, you think LeBron was young when he lost to San Antonio Spurs. KD, Harden, and Westbrook was even younger than that. Maybe the same age, about the same age. But these are mature guys in their prime with Wade, Bosh, and LeBron, and they're certified superstars. They got Harden and Westbrook before they even arrived, before they even turned into MVP caliber players. The only legit guy that was there was KD. So there wasn't a KD and LeBron head to head. That was KD, Wade, Bosh against LeBron, Wade, Bosh against KD. Right? So that's a whole different ball game when you leave Cleveland, put a super team together in Miami, and then say, you really can't legitly say that you're better than all the other guys that's on your level. When they put the Knicks out of the playoffs, is Wade, Bosh, and LeBron against Melo. Yeah, you can kind of count Stoudemire, but Stoudemire is on Bosh's level. So if Stoudemire and Bosh cancel each other out, you got Melo against Wade and LeBron by himself. How does that prove that you're better than Melo? How do I not know that if you were still in Cleveland and you had one co-star and Melo had one co-star, that's an even matchup. Not your third guy being just as good as Melo's co-star, and then your co-star probably being better than Melo. How is that fair? How is it fair for you to have Melo matched up with Wade? Let's say they're on the same level. Melo and Wade matched up. Amari Stoudemire and Bosh matched up. That leaves LeBron James at the top of the pyramid with no equal. Wade and Melo is equal. Stoudemire and Bosh is equal. LeBron James sits on top by himself. Same thing when he was going against Steph with the Warriors before KD showed up. You got Steph, who's on the same level with Kyrie. You got Klay, who's on the same level with Kevin Love. You got Draymond, who's on the same level with J.R. Smith. And then you got LeBron sitting up top with no equal. The only thing that happened when KD showed up to the Warriors is it made it even. Now you got Kevin Durant and LeBron on top of the pyramid as equals. You got Kyrie and Curry as equals. You got Love and Klay as equals, and you got Draymond and J.R. Smith as equals, or however you want to put that. That's all that happened. It made it even. But most of the time, LeBron was picking. He already had the advantage before they even did the jump ball, because he walked in there with a super team, and at any given point, he had the three best players on the court, and a lot of times, if not the two best players and the fourth best player. Like that, I mean, it just don't work. That's crazy. You can't tell who's better that way, right? So when you look at that journey of what LeBron did versus what they did before him, is way more respectable for what they did before LeBron. And what LeBron did loses a lot of respect, right? You can still say he achieved great things and got 2 rings with that super team, but how is that more impressive than how they did it before, right? And for you to want to be compared to the guys who did it the harder way, right? For Michael and Bird and Magic to do it the way they did it, stand with their team, built their team, and continue to go to battle until it works. Make the other team that was beating you bow out gracefully and pass the torch. If that was the way it was being done, LeBron changed the game and did it a more unconventional way that was less respected, right? So how can you be compared to those guys? You really can't, right? And then what LeBron fans will say is, well, LeBron didn't start the big three or the super team. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett started it with Boston. Okay, that's fine. But Paul Pierce is not being compared to Michael Jordan and Bird and Magic. Ray Allen is not being compared to Bird, Magic, Michael, or Kobe. Kevin Garnett, as good as he was, is not even being compared to Kobe, Bird, Magic, or Michael. So if the standard was set by Bird, Magic, Michael, and Kobe on how the number one is supposed to do, because remember, Kobe wanted to be seen as those guys as number one, so he knew, I have to get away from Shaq to show them I can do it the way Jordan did it. And he did it. So now we can compare him to MJ and those guys, because he used the standard that they set. LeBron is using the standard that Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen set. Common sense would tell you that that's who you're comparable to. I compare your 2 rings with Miami to the rings that they got in Boston. I don't compare your 2 rings with what Jordan, Bird, and Kobe did. I don't compare that. You can't compare it. You use the standard of the guys that's below Jordan. You can't do what Kevin Garnett did and then be seen on the level of Jordan. You just can't. Right? So you are at the level of what standard you chose to follow, what blueprint you chose to follow. Right? It's just not respected. if you was in the Olympics and you tested dirty for PEDs or something like that, I can't compare you to the people who didn't use PEDs. So we would have one race for clean people and one race for people that's drugged up on steroids. Right? So same thing with this in basketball. We have one category that we compare players that did it the way the old regime did it. And the number ones, I call them the number ones. Kobe, Michael, Bird, Magic, the number one, Isaiah, the number ones. They did it this way. That's their standard. You use the standard of the number twos, Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. They're on a level below the ones on the pyramid. The top of the pyramid is Jordan and all them, and they had a standard. Under them is the standard of KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. That's what you did, LeBron. Not only you did it once, you did it twice, because you took that same blueprint and was like, let me go to Cleveland and run it back the same way. Let me go get Love and Kyrie, join them just like Wade and Bosh. The same thing. So you did another big three. How do I know if you better than these guys that you're supposed to be going against? You're supposed to be competing against these dudes so I can see who's the better player in your era. But you're cheating the system and it's not clear no more. Remember I said it was very clear in Jordan's era to know who was the best because everyone stayed with one team. Everybody followed the same blueprint and the standard on how to build a team around them, and they all went to battle and fought till the wheels fall off. LeBron was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So when you look at it on the surface, you be like, you see 4 rings and you be like, oh man, you think those 4 rings was achieved the same ways as Kobe's or Michael's was, and it wasn't. It was done a whole different route using a whole different standard, and we just can't compare that. You know, last thing I talk about is the Rocky movie. You remember when he was fighting the Russian, and the Russian had all these high-tech facilities that he was training at. He had all these lines hooked up to him, monitoring his heart rate and his oxygen levels, and you know, I think he might have been taking some steroids too. You know what I mean? He's doing all this stuff inside the gym. He's on the treadmill, doing all this stuff, which is cool. But then you see Rocky, he don't even have a gym. He living in a cabin, very cold. He's running through snow for his workouts, running miles in the snow, coming back, picking up logs. He ain't even had no weights. He picking logs up and chopping trees. That's the route that's probably more respected than the route that the Russian guy was taking the steroids and doing all the high tech stuff. Right. So it's 2 different routes. It's 2 different standards. You know, you go that hard way where everybody respect, where everybody it's traditional to do it that way. And you go the non-traditional way where, you know, it's a lot of shortcuts involved. Like John Stockton said, you taking the helicopter to the top of the mountain instead of climbing it. You know, so I just want y'all to think about that. Bobby Knight explaining why Michael Jordan is just the best. And then we know Kobe was a carbon copy of that. And, you know, I just want you to have all that in your mind about how they did things and how they asked for harder. You know, they asked for harder. They was like, all right, man, I can't beat these dudes. That means I got to get stronger and better. Versus I can't beat these dudes. So let me join a super team, or let me put a super team together and make it easier. Even Kobe was like, man, I don't even want to be with Shaq no more. I run through with Shaq, but y'all calling me his sidekick. I'm gonna show you ain't no sidekick. Send Shaq on packing. And we'll see who can get more apart from each other. Because Shaq tried with Penny, didn't work. Tried with Eddie Jones and Van Exel, didn't work. Tried with Eldon Campbell as his sidekick, didn't work. He didn't get his ring until Kobe came of age. Then when he left Kobe, he got that one in Miami with Wade, couldn't get another one. Couldn't even get to another finals. He got the one with Miami. After that, he ain't seen no more finals. After they split, Kobe seen 3 more finals. Won 2 of them. So it's a lot to think about, man. But that's all I wanted to say, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man, and I'll check y'all out on the next episode. Peace.